Morning, good day to you. I hope you're in good health, and I'm introducing myself. I'm Thomas Simarmata. I work in the process of UN Declaration of Rights of Peasants and other people working in rural areas. And I will a little bit explain about the process and how we might think that the declaration would espouse for the protections of rights of our population, world population, but also for the purpose on addressing climate change, sustainable development, but also addressing violations in the rural area. I might recall some of the process that we worked then, especially in International Conference in Jakarta in 2007, maybe 2008, I need to recall again. It was hosted by CAMPESINOS and Serikat Petani Indonesia Peasants Union. Hosted the conference. So it was the very first time that the meeting of peasants organizations also participated by jurists and also supported by many rights groups and movements. It was at the same time that what we know then as a food crisis beginning to happen at that time. So the process was initiated by CAMPESINOS as a worldwide effort to address a huge challenge, not only the poverty, food crisis, but also what we know as the agrarianizations, meaning that people are displaced, rooted out from the rural livelihood. Not so much that it had been a deliberate effort to displace them, but because the livelihood is so concentrated in urban area, in a very concentrated way of doing things. So living in rural area is really a huge challenge. So the process in the UN, it was a meeting of many efforts by peasants movement, by rural movement, but also by states in the United Nations. So they started as a way to address food crisis, very serious food crisis then, and the United Nations started a emergency meeting both in New York and in Geneva. In Geneva, it took place, I think, in 2nd of May 2008. So since 2008, the UN started a serious effort to address this situation. So it was, in fact, the UN General Assembly started a high-level panel, and Henry Saragi, then General Secretary of CAMPESINOS, was invited to speak at the United Nations General Assembly, but then also it was started in the United Nations Human Rights Council. Then it was part of a new established based on UN reform. It was UN Advisory Committee, and then as a process coming into the UN Human Rights Council. So the basic questions in addressing this situation is what kind of discriminations created or happened against rural populations, but also in a way to the whole population in the world in regard of food situation. So the Via Campesina then arguing many cases, arguments, and also aspirations that they put as an international norm to be recognized and to be developed in governing food situations in the world. The UN Special Rapporteur also responded to this process, and he defined the declarations is crucial based on 4 reasons. One is it is needed in international law, meaning that it should develop a norm governing the whole situations of food systems. Second one is it contributes greatly to the fight against hunger. Third, it is also the best way to ensure this subsistence agriculture, but not so much subsistence agriculture, but what we know now as food sovereignty in the situation where the wholesaling economy was and is dominant, and by dominant meaning also the abusive impact of this dominance to the agroecology, food sovereignty, and the life of communities in the rural area. And 4, it will increase access to means of productions in the rural area. So it was the argument of Special Rapporteur, which was so much in agreement with the aspirations, key values of peasants movement. And then we have a long process supported by many countries, so I cannot recall one by one, but it was a true UN Human Rights Council's important process, important steps that they know. It was about time that the international governance addressing this very key issue. And the declarations itself was adopted in UN General Assembly in 17th of December 2018. So it had been a long process. You all can see the text, which represents what I just explained about the basics idea about declarations. And in the text also mentioned about what in legal term we call it as enumerations of rights. It is already long-standing rights, but it needed to be recognized in international norm positively. Based on the adoption of the declarations and out of this normative content in the text of declarations, what we can think about the next steps, or in a way it facilitates meaningful in conjunctions many efforts by many parts, many communities. I would suggest there are 4 steps, maybe parts of it already in process. I just want to say it, and also another parts maybe need to be more facilitated. One is on the mechanisms of the declarations. The councils should take next step for this, and they can think about the special procedures based on the council, but also how they can facilitate the standard setting. So the whole set of human rights norm can be more governed based on these declarations. And the second one is what I call as institutional process. So we know that the UN have many agencies, it has many related treaties, but it's also saying about the states. So the declarations should facilitate cooperations between states to think and to develop a process where the states can develop implementations of these declarations. The third one is on the rights holder. These are very delicate because rural populations, they already endure many hardships. We can think many things about this. But at the same time now they are the holder of the rights in this declaration. So I think many admirable examples, exemplary practices that we can think, we can copy even, we can recognize in the process of implementation of the declarations. And the fourth one is in legal policy world, what we now need to set it against many developments, many dynamics, and trying to look the constructive positives in even fundamental aspirations based on these declarations into organized, thoughtful legal and policy setting. I can understand it is not that easy. For example, we think about the different constitutional systems among the states and how they have different way to look into the declarations based on their own situations. At the same time, I do think that when we look into differences, it gives us food for thoughts in developing legal protections and policy facilitations by the states, which the jurists, academia can help, or even can put pressures on government of the states. So I hope it can give us starting point to think, but also maybe you already have your idea about the implementations, how to address violations. So what I just said perhaps is not enough, but I do hope that the process which I recall, and the what we should think about next steps can give us more creative process to implement the declarations both in international level context, but also in national level, without we are uniforming the situations of each or one by one of the states. So I do hope that we can think about steps of implementation. So I thank you.